All right, and welcome to another episode of the D.A.M podcast. We back. This is going to be season 3, episode 1, and we have a great guest for y'all today. This is Drew here on the mic.
Sir.
Right in front of me is the coziest man in the world.
That's right, cozy. What's good? What's popping?
Oh, and it's your favorite Mr. Fourth Quarter. It's Don Bruce.
And our special guest today, Marguerite. Thank you for joining us.
Hey.
What's up? What's up?
We've been trying to get her on for like a month.
There you go. We start off season 3 with a
like
bang, too.
August.
That's
Since
what I'm
like
saying.
August.
I know. I'm happy. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem. A lot of people that I follow that are my age, those are the people that really inspire me. But the people who are older, that's who I aspire to be. So that's why I wanted to get her on the podcast. So I just want you to introduce yourself and tell the people what you do a little bit.
Okay, awesome. I'm Marguerite Jones. Right now, I'm an A&R and assistant at RCA Records under Sony. So we worked together for a little while. Yeah, so just navigating the music industry.
So I actually want to start where we started. I think we actually met on the first day because we had to introduce ourselves and be like, "Hi, I'm this person."
Quick networking.
Like you ain't left college. Like, hey, I'm Andrew. This is what I'm working with and everything. And everybody was like, "Yo, you got the sway." I was like, "God damn, all right, chill." But you had
we met orientation. Actually,
Yeah.
sorry, not to cut you off. We met orientation, and it was funny because I know that we were kind of there was 2 hip hop shows at the time. It was Lord Sear Special and Sway's Universe, of course, and it was kind of like we knew we were in between those, and I knew immediately because I was like, oh, he got Sway. That's awesome.
I immediately drew
First
attention to
impression. Let's go.
immediately got
Let him know,
eyes
Drew.
and shit.
Drew, you do have swag,
It's okay, bro. It's okay to flex a little bit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Nah, I gotta stay humble.
bro. You
Gotta-
can't say that
gotta
when you
stay
got the
humble.
chain on flex right now.
Gotta
Get out
stay
of here.
Oh, you gonna tuck that in now? Oh, damn.
But how was your internship with Gray Rizzy? Because Lord Sear was out, right?
Yeah, so during my stay with Sirius, Lord Sear was out just for a little bit. He's back now. Super long-standing show. Sear's show was awesome. I had obviously we had went over a ton of the interviews that he did. Super outspoken, raunchy, fun. And Gray, definitely a totally different vibe, but I think Gray knocked it out of the park as well. So
Did you ever meet with Sear or
Sear and I talk. It's really weird. We never see each other, but even where life is now, we constantly have people in common. So it's we talk, we know of each other, but we just never run into each other anymore.
Got you. Where did you go to school? Because I went to Iona, and then that's how. And our professor, we actually all went to Iona. Our professor, Demergis, he worked at Sirius, so he pushed Sirius on
Every time he had the opportunity.
Every semester, he's like, "Yo, apply to Sirius, apply." So how did you get into Sirius?
I got into Sirius. So I graduated from City College, CUNY in Harlem, where we are now. So literally right down the street.
Okay.
And I got into Sirius. I had other internships prior. I had been on radio a little bit. I had been just kind of hustling, trying to write for rap, hip-hop mags. And a really great mentor of mine, Rob Markman, I had already applied for the position and kind of expressed to him how bad I wanted it. And, I think word just had got around that I was really devoted and really wanted it. And Sear wanted to meet me and gave me the internship.
Rob Markman over at Genius, right?
Yeah.
That's the homie. Cortez. He's his right wing man over there. He does his videography and shit. That's what's up.
He's a great person, man. I actually saw him once because I was at work, and then I was passing by upstairs. And I looked down. I was like, "Is that Rob Markman?" So I actually went downstairs, shook his hand, blah blah blah, because I'm a fan of Rob Markman as well. Great journalist.
A goat in the industry. Seriously.
He raps too.
He's coming out with some new shit too.
Yeah.
He just his shit gets better and better to me. And I think it's gonna be something that we look back in and. It's not Billboard, it's not that, but I think culturally, we're gonna look back on it and be like, yo, Rob really he did that shit.
He paved the way type stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So where did you intern before Sirius? You said you worked at a couple places.
Yeah, so I knew pretty much starting in college I wanted to work in music. I didn't know how that would kind of manifest itself, but when I'm from upstate New York. I'm from Binghamton, so there's not a lot for us to do up there.
I thought I was far.
Yeah.
I thought Yorktown was far.
Yeah, so there we had an NPR radio station called WSKG. and All Things Considered, and a lot of these NPR shows went through there. So one of my professors just was like, yeah, I think you'd be a great fit for a journalism internship. And he got me in there, and they let me kind of write my own stories and voice things, and I worked a lot with like politicians and district attorneys. It was cool. It just wasn't music. It was journalism. It was hard journalism.
See, but have you found that working within hard journalism, it kind of translates over into what you do now? Like, obviously, when it comes to journalism, because I heard that you say that you were into radio, which is crazy because we were all doing radio.
Yeah.
And even though people claim that radio is a dying thing, there's still, like, lessons that you can kind of interpret, right? So what was the one thing that the internship that you kind of learned that you still use to this day?
From that internship or
Yeah.
for
that one specifically?
For that one specifically, I think it was literally myself, a camera, an audio equipment, and going to somewhere and literally getting a full interview, recording it, like doing everything myself, coming back, chopping it, putting it on air, putting it on the web. So that was like, damn, like this is journalism. You kind of have to go get it. So I think in that aspect, it kind of taught me how to be self-sufficient. I would do all the mixing and things myself.
Added to the hustles, you would say, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did school help you with any of those? Because I know that for us, like, we'd had some classes on like Adobe Audition, Photoshop, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that got me into journalism. So when I interned with Hot 97, when I was at Hot and I was like prepping interviews, or when I was at Sirius prepping interviews, that definitely helped me. I think my classes at City College, in terms of honestly everything, marketing, social media, I think all of that was extremely helpful. I think school is beneficial if you want to break into this industry. I think even if you think that you have all the connections and friendships, it just takes it to the next level.
Heard a lot of like old school, like OGs in your list, so I would assume that your parents were definitely like, putting you on. I'm assuming.
Not even, to be real. I'm just an old head. Like, my older brother is Jay-Z everything and really into like Stack Bundles and New York rappers. So that's how I got that influence. My mom isn't into music, and my dad actually didn't like rap at all. He's jazz, blues, like that's kind of his thing. So rap, he didn't understand. He didn't get it at all. So I used to hide it a little bit.
My mom did a full 360. She bought all the albums, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Ja Rule, all that shit. And then now she's like, why do you like rap so much? I'm like, fam, you bought the
Same reason that you liked it back in the day.
She'd be rapping in the car. I had to tell her not to cuss. And I'm like, nah, you trying to come at me. But the reason I asked that is because with the rise of Griselda all the way in Buffalo,
love it.
Now outside of the boroughs, now they're starting to come up. So was there ever a group that had that impact before Griselda, or was it just like, nah?
I don't think so. I think Rock Nation stepping in with guys like Benny Butcher, like, just goes to show that I think it was a cultural move. Like, I feel like they're not a secret. They've been around. Conway, they've been around. I think people knew. I think nobody in the industry wanted to take a chance and do something that was so like old head hip hop and like it's not radio, and it's kind of like Freddie Gibbs this year with Bandana, like, and Madlib, like it's a culture move. It's not a Billboard move. But I think I don't think there was a group like them. No,
that's true. Because even when I went to the I forget which place it was somewhere in Midtown where we went to the concert. It was just a whole lot of people just supporting the movement of Griselda, and they kind of changed New York, to be honest, because now people are starting to accept everybody from other places, and even just in Westchester, it's Mount Vernon and Yonkers that get the respect that they deserve with Styles P, Jadakiss, Diddy. Like, you have all these people from outside of the five boroughs who are getting the respect they deserve now. Who are you listening to now that you think will be as impactful as Griselda is just in the industry today?
In terms of putting on for where they're from?
Yeah. Because you mentioned Fredo Bang, and I have a friend who lives down in in Louisiana, and then she told me about him because I'm a Kevin Gates fan.
Oh yeah, him and Kevin fuck with each other heavy.
They don't fuck with NBA though, or at least Fredo Bang don't.
They're cool. They're cool.
Now they're cool.
They're not.
Got you.
They're cool.
Got you.
But I think putting on where they're from, there's a couple people. There's a new signee to Cinematic, Slater. I feel like he puts on for Dykeman. I don't know that there's really been rappers from Dykeman specifically. Like, there's been Bronx rappers, of course. I can't think of anybody though that's really came really hard from Dykeman specifically. I really like Haiti Baby. He's coming out of the Bay Area.
Okay, I was gonna ask anybody like in the West Coast or even Midwest too. Of any artists from the Midwest, because they
a couple
also
of sleepers.
Yeah, because you mentioned Eminem, of course, and I feel like the Midwest doesn't get their props. I mean, Royce to me is one of the best rappers just alive right now, and I feel like he doesn't get his props.
Oh my God, don't get me started on Royce. I love Royce.
Come on,
so
see, I told you.
not alike. Like, I've had arguments about the song. Like, I'm like, do you hear like everything he just said? You didn't. There's no way you could have. Yeah, no.
I'm trying to tell people. Come on.
Put people on.
Royce is,
I got backup finally.
Royce is disrespectful. He is monstrous.
Even when we're on Sway, of course, from Oakland, he knows all the Oakland people, all the LA people. Like, I think Guap Dad is from LA.
Oh, Guap Dad. Yeah, he's great.
So
he's invented scamming. He invented the scam rap. Which
he invented scam rap.
Guap Dad, I think so. In the sense of like, that's his whole thing is scamming. I mean, I don't know how much you listen to him. TJ Times 6. I feel like you mentioned Midwest rappers coming out of Detroit, which is I think one of the hardest cities to come out of.
Yeah.
With TJ Times 6, who's been getting a lot of attention with the scam rap. I think Guap Dad put on for that.
So that's a whole different genre now. I've never heard of scam rap.
This is the first time I've ever heard.
Really?
Of
Yeah.
It's like a subgenre for every little place.
He got banned from the dark web.
He got banned from the dark web.
He downloaded Tor browser and got back in. You didn't hear it? Oh, you gotta get on TJ Times 6.
You gotta put us on.
He's at SOBs tonight. Actually, he's performing.
Really? Here's some scam rap
from
alive.
the fucking dark web. That's
Scammer.
crazy.
He said I got banned from the dark web.
Damn.
Listen,
That's a flex.
I mean,
that place is dirty anyways.
I mean, we were talking about music a little bit earlier, but you the A&R, so you got to put us on. But how was your path going to become an A&R from going from Sirius? Like, what did you do after Sirius? Because I just applied to jobs and I was like, yo, and still to this day,
we're in the exact same boat. The internship, and now we're just looking for jobs right now. So how was the transition for you?
Tired of it. He's like,
I'm over it, bro.
Stressed.
For me, I was still in school when I was done with Sirius, so I did it as a summer internship, and then I started my senior year of college. And I think that fall that I came back, I went back to writing for rap mags. I was writing for Baller Alert for a little bit, and just trying to focus on school and go to shows and stuff, because I was trying to be involved, in the street, because you got to kind of keep your ear to stuff and be out and be kind of linking and knowing what's going on. So I did that, I think, for a couple months, and then I just always wanted to try a label, I think, because of our interactions, with radio. You always work with record labels. You're always working with managers and lawyers. And I was like, you know what? I wonder how that is. And, A&R, I felt like, was where I wanted to be, and signing and discovering. So I applied, and after some interviews,
Why was it simple as apply on the internet, and then you went in for the interview and you got it like that?
Shit, I wish that was mine.
No, but I'm getting 101 dubs over over email right now.
I think like you just gotta build up. Like you gotta build. There's no way. Like I always say, there's no way I would have been at Sirius if I wasn't at Hot, and I wouldn't have been at Hot if I wasn't at NPR. And I think you gotta put that work in. Game was different. A&Rs were different. Labels were different. I think now, as long as you have a lawyer, you're reading a contract, you understand what you need out of it. You should know going in what you need as an artist, I think. And
it's a lot more transparent nowadays.
It's a lot more transparent. And I think labels are not out to get you, but, artists are very quick to say they want a couple $1 million. And I think we don't even think about how much a couple $1 million are. Would you spend your own money on it? Like, if it were your money, would you take it out of your account and do it? I mean,
that's true.
Got you. Have you ever had any like bad deals with or seen any deals go wrong with artists while you're at RCA?
No, honestly, no. I think I love RCA, and I think we really do right by people. So I really don't.
She's good. She got the media training already.
I mean, I think
Background, bro.
I really think you'd like
The
look
NPR.
at what people do. I think if you're interested in what somebody does, it's just like a person, right? You're gonna be like, all right, let me look at their track record. Let me look what they've been doing. Okay, this is who they have.
See the following and
How
all
are
that
they
stuff.
doing? Well, who's working on that? Okay, you can see what people do.
I was wondering how essential, because we all have media training in one sense or another, right? But for an artist, how important do you think media training is? Because there's certain outliers within like the game. Like there's people like Playboy Cardi who doesn't use social media much. There's Bryson Tiller who doesn't do interviews. So nowadays, do you feel like media training is as essential as it seems, or you think you can kind of just get away with just putting good music out?
I think the people that aren't doing anything at all, the J. Coles and like the Bryson Tillers, are at the top tier. I don't think like an average artist can just be like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do serious. I don't think I'm gonna
let
do
the music
hot.
speak for itself. Kind of stuff.
I don't think that that's like a thing. I think that radio you will always need. It's just too important, and I think that it's bigger than that. I think when artists start to really understand the full picture, sometimes you can be the only person holding yourself back. So I think
sometimes it's like
necessary.
a mixture. I find it's the mixture of the music and the personality. You know what I mean? When both of those mesh, that's when you get the real fans, I find.
You ever had like an instance where you find a new artist and everything like sounds like fluid, and they sign a deal and then they have to do like a album or whatever, but then end up backing out? Because I had a friend who was an artist and he signed to, I think, Sony, and he dropped his album. He had the backing, he had the fans, but he's just not making music anymore. So I'm assuming the deal went wrong. So I don't know if you ever came across any situations like that where you're at now.
I mean, I can't speak on us specifically.
No, for sure.
I think it can be literally anything. Like when you're talking in terms of like holding up a project or an album, an artist, it can be anything. You have to think about the artist. It could be, I don't like these drums on this, and I'm not willing to change it. Okay, well that can't be cleared. So
It's true.
Damn.
like, are we just gonna keep it here? It can be. It can be a million things, or, this sounds like this other record. It's a legal issue. We can't, like, you want to put it out and get sued, then do that. We're not going to pay for that. So I think there's, like, there's a million and one things I think that can hold things up.
How in depth do you get with the album process?
Yeah.
Since I've been at RCA, I've only been there a matter of months. So I think for me, most of the things I work on are the executive that I work with. It's mostly the things that he signed. So in terms of that, like, it can be anything. I mean, the artist himself, he's gonna like go through his trial and errors and like write and rewrite and do his due diligence. And I think put in all the work. I think for A&Rs, like, I have to be present in the studio. For artists that I'm passionate about. And I think whenever I'm going out to sign things, obviously I'm scheduling meetings, getting people excited about it. And I think you should just be a cheerleader for your artists. Like, I know the artists that I work most directly with, you got to do things that aren't necessarily your job. If they need a video, then you should know the videographers. You should know the directors. If they happen to be in town, you should be brainstorming on things that they can do while they're here.
You can name drop a little bit. Who are you working with?
Right now, I work. My executive has recently signed Maxo Cream.
Dope.
Let's go.
So Maxo Cream from Houston, is someone that I work with him and for him with. Like I said, Fredo Bang is another artist. We recently signed Young Manny, so he's out of DMB. So he had a really big record. So some of that stuff, he's coming in and we're working on that. And I think it could literally be anything. Like, we work with a lot of really great producers right now, and we're always in the studio with them. And I think just definitely just being around and being present.
So the last time, I think the first time that I mentioned that I wanted to get you on the podcast, I think Ty went out, so I was helping.
It's hard to get.
I know.
It's hard to get me.
It's been like 2 months.
Oh, stop.
Take a little bit of effort.
I'm always right here for friends.
You
Are you
popping in the
serious?
streets. Come on.
I'm not going at a spot. You gotta be at an event.
Oh, I'm not even
you gotta
mixy.
come-
I don't know if you want to say
You
that.
gotta
'cause
come
you was
correct.
I don't know if you want to say that you was at the same event. So,
Ooh, facts.
so with
Facts.
so I think I was helping out a podcast, and then and then it was for Maxo Cream. His album release party came out, and J. Cole was there, and of course. So how was that experience for you?
That's why I had to run up on her.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take this. So Maxo Cream. So I didn't. Mostly that was like marketing digital. That was like his team. That kind of like set that up. I kind of have a relationship with the venue, and it was a situation where I was gonna just help as much as I could. He was in town and just went through and we set it up. And Max was an artist where like he has a lot of great relationships with his friends, and you know Cole's a friend of his, so they've been friends for years. And I think we had a lot of great people on the album. So Maxo's exec who signed him, you know, they worked really hard. They got Schoolboy Q on the album.
Yeah.
Cole actually had Maxo on the Dreamville album. So he knows Maxo's immensely talented. Maxo's a lyricist. Maxo's a storyteller. He's an artist. I mean, there's not a lot of Maxo's out there. Like,
Facts.
I'm not gonna lie. So I think it was one of those things where, you know, we had a really good room. It was a really great turnout. Everyone was excited about Brandon Banks. And yeah, then Cole just walked in and just set the room. Like a lot of jaws dropped. Like he came out the house. It's like that.
Parked
Like,
his bike.
it's like that.
Yeah, you put his city bike away.
Exactly. He put his bike on the side. Let me walk in for a second.
Yeah, and he's obviously, you know, we do Dreamville as well, so he's very familiar, and it's great.
So being an A&R obviously has a lot of perks. Like there's a lot of perks to the job, but there's also a lot that you're required to do. And like the variety with who you meet and who you interact with is crazy. But what's one thing that caught you off guard about the position?
One thing that's caught me off guard
That you didn't really expect.
I didn't really I wouldn't say I didn't really expect it, but everything will catch you off guard. Anything and everything. You have to always think outside of the box. There's no like excuses of like, oh, I couldn't do this, or
I didn't have enough time. You have to make it work, right?
not even like time. It's just more so like common sense, and like if something has to be done, there's no like I have to call, like, oh, let me check with this person, or call and ask this person, or like, am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? Like, you just kind of got to move with it and make a decision quickly, and like anything and everything will come up. And things that like, you know, for me, it'll be like, oh, I'm at this event. This is going on with the technology. And I'm like, I didn't get into this for a reason. I don't know. And then you just kind of got to like figure it out. Like, don't fail. Just don't fuck up.
Adapt and figure out, especially because music, everything changes. There's nothing really set in stone.
That's crazy. So you said that your schedule, like you were flying to places and just helping out artists and things like that. Where have you gone for Maxo?
For Maxo, the man who signed him, who is a really big exec. He basically like he's been like a huge mentor to me, and pretty much is the reason that I exist and have a job. And Jay basically, Maxo was doing a showcase for Lyrical Lemonade, which like I love Lyrical and I love everything that they do and represent. And they have a show that they do in Chicago for the weekend, because you know Cole Bennett and his whole team being from Chicago. So Maxo was a headliner, one of the big headliners for that, and we flew to Chicago. We took him to that. He has a song out with Megan Thee Stallion, and Meg was also performing. So you know they brought him out. Playboy Cardi brought Maxo out, and it was really good vibe. So Chicago. Went to LA, you know, did BT and all those events, and you know.
See, she knows what Playboy Cardi is. So if you have any questions, just ask what album is that. Hey, you guys see, you got connections.
Just a bunch of leaks, man.
Your boy knows.
He's like on that Uzi time. It's like you get it when you get it.
Yeah. See, I can't be bothered right now. If y'all gonna keep leaking my music, then
but what happens during a leak or something like that? Because we were gonna ask like a couple questions.
We were talking about it. We were like, we thought it was just as simple as maybe you got people in your clique who are leaking stuff, but like we don't know the behind.
Or
the scenes.
would it be like a label, like just leaking some? I don't know. Like
no, a label would never do that. It would fuck a label. So I think like is in terms of leaks, it could just be anything. Like you asked about holding albums, it could be anything. I think leaks like come from friends. It come from mostly it's from hackers.
Really?
It's really from people just getting in places that
Get
they don't
into your
need to.
iCloud,
He needs a
bro.
new password.
Hacking to your
You
shit.
need to get a different password.
Yeah, it gets creepy. Like you
Yeah.
really should like keep changing your passwords and things.
Just
and
add a $sign.
For all we know, his password's password, bro. That's probably what it is.
It's Playboy.
That's-
Playboy.
that's his
That's
name.
his passport. But a thing that was in the headlines today, and just dealing with artists, Tekashi. Like not if an artist is in that situation specifically, but if an artist does get in trouble or they're run-ins with the law, of course you guys have precautions and things like that. So like, what would happen if one of your artists like did get in trouble? Because Maxo, of course, if you read his story, he was in prison and things like that. So what would you do if the artist is in a situation like that?
Maxo's a saint now.
He is. He's
never does
reformed.
anything wrong. No, he's reformed. Exactly. No. But I think you just gotta ride for your artist. Like it's happening. I mean, it's happening right now. I think if you look at like ASAP and like his situation in Sweden, like he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. So I think like you have to look at things also in like, if you want to develop trust with the people that you work with and the people that you are making money with and you're in business with, like you're a partner and you're in this together. And I think like that's really how I think I carry myself, and I think my colleagues do as well. Like you should go hard for your artists and you should respect them. And I think you should just make sure they're good. At the end of the day, like it's the industry, and it might seem like the most important thing in the world, but you know they're just people at the end of the day, and like you should make sure that they're safe and they're good.
Is there any with streaming now being so big and that's basically how we get all our music, how tough is it to put your artists in a better position to get their song out there? Because of course before, if you had a record label and you had 50 Cent on your record label, like that's 50 Cent is your guy.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have
It's with the explosion of music and everybody.
if you have like the Baby, Maxo, Megan, like on the same label, like now you guys can spread it out more. But is it harder to get your artist specifically to like the top of the charts?
It's always going to be hard, especially with the amount of music coming out. I think you have to have a good product. You have to have a good artist. I think timing has to be right. I think it's a number of things. It's how hard you're going to work, how hard the manager's going to work. Like I said, you have to be your own. You have to be your own cheerleader. You have to do, you know, if you want the word out, you got to make sure the word is out. Like it's something you're excited about. I think obviously you're always going to have your priorities, and you're always and things are always at different levels developmentally. So I think different artists need different things. So you should cater to that.
Do you ever get in like arguments or overt artists with other A&Rs and stuff like that at the label itself, or no?
No, because you know what? Like one for the team is one for the team, and I think like you should never. You just it should be open communication with your coworkers. You should never be like on some like sneaky shit.
I was about to say we get a signing bonus.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's just. But I think if your ear is to something and you fuck with something, you're gonna reach out, and if you reach out, then that's you. You planted your flag. That's you. You know. And I think competition with other labels is always gonna be a thing.
Got you.
That's what we doing.
True.
Like I have so many friends who are doing music, and I mean obviously everybody's ear is different, and I tend to try and like be as non-biased as possible, but I always tell them like, yo, keep working on your shit, like keep working on your craft, just keep putting out music. You never know who's gonna listen to it or hear it, and like hopefully bring you for an interview or sign you, whatever the case may have you. But I never have the answer because I don't know who they should talk to, who they should reach out to. Like how would you put it in simple terms for them to like take the right path to doing that? To like, what's the process? They send you have to like send you music, or like what, like how's that process work? Because I want to be able to help them, because like my friends, I think they're talented. So
I'm a firm believer of labels will find you. I mean, we don't really miss a lot. Like even if you get 500 views, we probably know about you. Like we probably know what's going on. If it's good, like I think people worry about followers and they try to like throw the fake shit on it and they try to do whatever. Like I think you gotta be you. You gotta, number one, if the music is not good, it's not gonna go. It's just you should have people being honest with you.
100%.
Don't let people keep
100%.
telling you to put money into it.
Yes men too.
You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of like, your brother and your cousin and your best friend are not all the next new rappers. It's not. I
know.
Statistics say no, but I think the music has to be good. I think develop your own fan base. It should be common sense. Like don't have a bunch of music out that isn't good. Be picky and be choosy about the things that you want to release. pay attention to where your listeners are, do shows, build a fan base, build a real fan base. And I think, I guarantee you'll have people reaching out to you asking if they can manage you because they know somebody and they're trying to bring you to a label, or labels are going to find you.
It's so funny you mention that because that's the first thing I tell them, like, yo, like, why don't you just go and do a show? There's a whole bunch of them out there. Like, I don't care how small it is, just do it. You never know who's going to be there. You know what I'm saying? And, oh, but I'm scared. Like, I don't, like, bro, like, just do it. Just try it. You never know. Like, just, trial and error. Pretty much.
I feel like music, a lot of artists, especially those who are like getting into music and are just starting, they think it's just mainly the music or just like social media. But I think it's a level of, you have to have collaboration with people too. Like if you're a dude who's trying to make like rhymes, right? You obviously collaborate with other producers to make stuff. But it's also, like you said, going out to the shows and practicing your crowd work.
Exactly.
Because that's how, like, I think an artist elevates themselves alongside the media training and all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of factors that go into it that an A&R like Marguerite will look into. You know what I mean?
Do you think like the dynamic has changed with an artist and a producer, or is it like more of a package deal now? Because I had Trip.
Yeah, Trip Bass Paddock.
Yeah. So my boy, his name is Trip. He's a producer, and I don't know if you guys heard of Daytona Fox. I think he's on the quality control. He started with him like very small. He made like a couple tracks with him, and now Daytona Fox has a song on the new Quality Control album. And I'm like, yo, that's fucking crazy. I grew up with this kid. He produced a song with him, and now he's on Quality Control. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, so my question is, like, I feel like the producer now is very vital to a song. Like, I feel like the dynamics kind of flipped. I don't know, like, what's your opinion on that?
I think producers have always been vital. I think you got like Jay's and Jay without Guru. I think No ID. I think like Swiss. I think, we got the Pierres, we got the Metros, we got the Londons. Like, I think producers have always been vital. I think, what does the story go? Like, Kanye made 300 beats a week or some shit when he was trying to do it. I think, like, how much do you care? Like, how much are you going to put into it? And I think the people that make it are the people that might work harder.
As someone who's ignorant towards how like the music industry works, do record companies try to actively sign the producers as well, or is it just like the musical artist?
Producers are signed. We have London on the Track signed. So
Cool.
Like, I was just asking because like I feel like producers are getting more recognized. They're getting the recognition now, opposed to like producers back in the day where
they were behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
how long typically do you give an artist for an album? Because one of my things is I don't want an artist to rush. I don't want Kendrick to be like, yo, I got to put an album out and
to have a deadline, or
especially
something.
An artist like that, like, take your time, bro. Like, Top Dog is gonna give him all the time, up to a point, of course. And I mentioned, I'm forgetting, I'm drawing a blank now. I'll look at it later. But there was an artist that hadn't dropped in a minute, or like a full project. I didn't see one. But how long do you give the artist time for?
Every artist is different. It depends what they want. There's artists who make music quickly. They maybe had stuff in the vault. They're ready to package some stuff and drop it. And then there's artists who are waiting for a moment. They're waiting for a year, or because they have a very specific way on how it's going to go. They have a very specific idea of when videos are going to drop. And I can't speak for like every label. I can't really speak for us, but I think to be fair, like, it's up to the artist. The artist should have control over what they're trying to do. You can't force somebody to put their name on something that they don't believe in or care about.
I was B. Smith, by the way. That was the artist that I was asking for.
Gotcha.
And touring has become such a huge way to make money for artists. So do you guys send them out? Like, do you schedule their tours for them, or do they? Okay.
Yeah, we schedule their tours for them. You should be on merch and just picking venues, obviously strategically, and just making sure, like, literally, like, things that make sense for them, looks that make sense for them. You should just always be thinking about, like, how you can help them.
Gotcha.
Is there any artist that you're waiting for, that you've been waiting for a while? Speaking on the, like, time to drop, are there any artists that you specifically? Because I have a few, and I've talked about this one artist specifically, and Drew knows exactly what I'm talking
Yes. Waiting for Tekashi.
Oh, you are. You're going to be waiting a long time. No.
She beat me to it. I was going to say the same thing.
I'm waiting for Ab-Soul. I was talking to somebody about this the other day.
He fell off the earth, honestly, after that album.
He's around here. No, I'm going to find him. I'm going to find him. I'm going to sign him. No, like, really, like, Absol is really got me out here. Like, I was listening to Control System the other day, and I was just like,
That's a fire ass.
I was so in love
We
with this
listening
album.
to Black Lip Bastard, and we're like, what
Oh
the
my god! And oh my god, everything on the album is so good.
Yeah.
That's his best work, I think, in my opinion. Control System is my personal favorite.
What about
Yeah.
you? Who you waiting for, bro?
Bro, same
Tell me.
label. Isaiah Rashad, wherever he's at.
Let's go.
I've
Yeah,
been
here
waiting.
somewhere too.
Talk about him all the time.
Oh, dude, I've been waiting
Like
since
the past
2016,
year
bro.
and a half.
They gave an average date for it. It was like 800 days, or like 1,000, or so between like.
Well, that's
or
just the
something
thing with
like that.
TDE though. Like
Yeah.
TDE, I feel like there's a level of like they obviously want the numbers. You want to be on the radio and get the Billboard hits, but there's also like a level of quality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I think with the artists that they have, they're known to produce quality. So going back to the question of how many days you might give an artist to make an album, it varies for them especially. Like people, I feel like in TDE, there's probably people who definitely drop faster than others. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just depends.
Well,
it depends.
because Schoolboy, like he dropped an album pretty recent, not too long ago, and then he
Yeah.
just dropped another one this year. So,
Yeah.
But I wanna ask her before we get to who you waiting for, because we waiting on the same person.
Facts.
Speaking of quality, how does that work? Because
Quality's subjective, dude.
exactly, it's very
Subjective, man.
subjective. So like, when do you guys like, oh, this is actually a good album, or do you guys are like, oh, it's trash, bro? You can't. Do you tell an artist like, no, I'm not releasing this?
They're like, yo, go back in the vault.
Yeah, like go
Take that
record
to
this
the vault.
again.
I mean, you're always gonna have classic music debates. That's like barbershop talk. That's like I'm always gonna. I have somebody probably once a week that tells me like Jay-Z's trash. So I'm always gonna square up.
In
So-
New York?
In New York.
said
what?
that?
Hell?
Out.
Who said that?
Or
They're not
I don't know.
coming-
I was
they're not
arguing with
coming.
somebody.
They
Probably a
mad at
Nas
the
fan
NFL
or some
deal.
shit.
Nah, or like I was arguing with somebody and they told me Yeezus was Kanye's best album, and I was like, yo, we could fight. Like, we want to walk outside because we could like kill this. Like, I'm so like.
Yo, I like
Yo,
Yeezus. I
out.
like Yeezus. I won't take the slander. I
Wait,
fuck
wait,
with
wait.
Yeezus.
Quick.
Is it his best album though? Like, what?
No, but it
Like,
gets a bad rap though. Is what I'm saying. It's not.
No, what I say about Yeezus is like, you know, it's like when you meet me for the first time, you're like, it's not even good, and then like a few times later, you're like, all right, she's all right.
It's just
I'll fuck with it.
super abstract. That's what it is. It depends what you're looking
What?
for.
Nah, it's cool. But
Damn, Jay-Z's trash. Yeezus is from there. Who
Nah,
is
nah.
that?
you're always gonna argue. But I think
You
like
got the entire room heated when you said that.
Come on.
Nah, but I think the A&R for the project should be the one to give the feedback and let the artist know if it's
That's
not
an argument waiting to
sounding
happen.
well. It's like that sometimes though. It's people think like it's all roses, I think, and I think you also have to be the one to have difficult conversations. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like their parent.
Yeah.
Like,
Facts.
There's probably sometimes you got to deal with like disagreements with your artists and stuff. But I mean, like you said, it's a partnership. You know what I mean? You got to try to work within each other's boundaries. I
The
guess.
only person you shouldn't beef with is 50. Don't ever do that.
no.
Whatever he said, you good, bro.
Nah, I'll leave
What's
Curtis
that shit
alone.
he says? Get the strap.
I'm worried about the social media shit. He can go for years. You not yo, Ja Rule and him beefed in like the early 2000s. They still going
still beefing.
to this day.
That beef
I'm
is
not-
still
longest
lasting.
beef ever.
Yeah,
Facts.
Bro,
Yeah.
y'all grown people, man. Like, come on.
that's true.
At
And
that point.
they would have made and I feel like everybody that beefs with each other, they would make amazing records together. Like Ja and 50, if they. You don't think
That's-
so?
that's-
Ja and 50 with
that's
like
iffy.
Ashanti on it?
That's iffy depending on
No?
who's beefing, though.
Tory and Drake, they beefed a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean
come
they
on.
would make
Like-
good music. They'd make hits.
Eminem and Royce, they beefed.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
It depends on.
Yeah,
who.
but I mean, come on, like Bad Meets Evil, like they've already
was
done
fire.
it. They've already made Perfect Homicide. That's my shit.
What song?
Bad Meets Evil.
Oh yeah, no, that whole album is great. I played
Both of them.
Oh yeah, they made two. Made 1 and 2. Yeah, they were both fire. So that's
I'm about to go and listen to Royce when I get home. God damn it, I'm out the
I
loop
know.
right now. I'm out the
you
loop.
got it.
I've been looking
you
for new
mean?
hip hop too, anyway. So
Yeah, Bad Meets Evil. It's very Slim Shady LP esque. It's very like animated.
See? I like that. That's my favorite era of Eminem, like the Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, when he had the personas going and everything,
Yeah.
and he was getting really weird on it. I fuck with that.
They get crazy on it.
It's just disrespectful.
They get disrespectful.
Very.
That's what I like to hear in my albums.
Me
They get
too.
disrespectful on the mic.
Nah, so I'm waiting for Party Next Door.
Okay, yes.
That's who I'm waiting for. It's been
Drake
such
got
a
him somewhere.
minute, son.
See, Party's out here just being really low key. He just writes for everybody. I heard.
Rihanna, Drake.
Rihanna's never dropping, dude. That's
She
one
is.
thing.
She said
she's
December.
too.
She gonna drop.
She said this summer. This summer's like 2
said
more
I'm
Waiting
days.
for Rihanna. That's what she waiting for. No?
I think she said before the year's out. I don't know that she said this summer.
I feel like
I think
December
people
is-
keep bothering her. She's gonna keep making us
I feel like
wait.
she's just on her Fenty shit. You know what I mean?
Facts.
She's
I
out
mean,
here.
She has a mogul shit.
She also
She killed Fashion Week, so she killed
what I'm
Diamond
saying.
Ball.
she
So.
also might be pregnant. So
The minute
That's bae.
is that.
anything Rihanna or Fenty, when you hear Rihanna's
Goldfinger's
name,
gonna hear you. He gonna come after you. You know that, right? That's his girl. You know Goldfinger. That's his girl.
Oh, I'll see you.
tread lightly, bro.
I'm gonna see him.
Pull up to the studio. I pass by every day, almost every day.
Oh.
Tory Lanez. That's who I'm waiting for. 100%.
Chicks Tape.
That's Chicks Tape 5.
You and Matt.
That shit is gonna be fire. And cause that's his problem too. Like he had to get everything cleared, and that's why all the other Chicks Tapes is not on iTunes, Spotify, and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
facts.
Because he couldn't get it cleared.
Straight
so he's like,
SoundCloud.
let's just drop. Yeah, straight SoundCloud.
I wanted to ask one last question as to being an A&R, right? Obviously you like music, duh, right? But have you found that working in the music industry, has it affected your enjoyment of music at all or no?
Yeah, I still enjoy it. Of course, I enjoy it. We have the best jobs ever. I think like
Yeah, but is it like a thing where you're like, oh, I gotta listen to it for work, or like, you know what I mean?
I think sometimes if you're listening to music for hours a day, of course, there's gonna be times where you're like, I can't tell if this is good or not, or there's gonna be times where you're like, I just think I look at things differently. I look at something now and I immediately I'm like, oh, okay, this is dope. Is it signed or is it unsigned? What label is it on? How many views does it have in the amount of time that
You
it's been
going
out?
into like the credits and all the stuff in the background.
I just get very like I get very into all the mechanics of like what's gone into it, and kind of like I try to understand exactly like what is it, where exactly are they from, and like how long have they been out, how old are they, like I kind of get into things a little more than I used to.
You
but-
think about the background process. That's a different way to look at music because
Yeah.
you're in the industry. I agree, though, especially listening to music nowadays over and over, because a lot of songs kind of sound the same. So a lot of it starts to like mesh together, so you don't know when you're listening to somebody else and all that kind of stuff too. So,
Like this
not
new,
an RCA.
this
Not an
new
RCA.
wave shit. Like
Got
for
banged.
me, it's like I'm on the beat, bro. Like I don't give a fuck who's on it. If the beat's
Really?
fire, like I just.
I don't know.
That is-
I mean, for me as a
That's
hip
just-
hop
I've always
fan,
been like that, but like I just listen to the beat. I've always been a beat guy. Like even
The
like
beat, yeah, of course, is important, but it.
I listen for everything, honestly. But like, if we're talking about like when you're listening to music, the first thing that comes to you in a hip hop song, mine was always flow. Like the way they rhyme or they rap on a song.
It depends on the artist. Like if you have the baby, you know his flow, how he's gonna rap on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then the Maxwell Cream album, the song "Brother," fam, when I played that, I was
Why Josh went off though?
he did.
I like Maxwell's
shit
brother.
off.
He goes, "That's my blooder."
Maxwell's like, we got the same father and mother. You know that nigga's my blooder. Like the way Maxwell's brother went off, I was like,
Yup.
who? Like, yeah, that
Yeah.
song is is very real.
I'm glad that album is getting notoriety because Maxwell's been around the circuit for a little while. I've been hearing that name for a minute. So now
He's
that people are
Brandon Banks is the highest reviewed album from Pitchfork yet this year for hip hop.
really.
Over Rhapsody?
For hip hop, yeah. What was her score? Do you know?
I thought
Look
she
it
got
up.
like an.
We'll look
Wait,
it up.
how did they rate it? Like
Is it out of
out
10?
of 10 or out of 100?
They rated it out of a 10.
Out of 10. I thought she got like a 9 or 10 or something like that. Because that was a very.
Dun.
'Cause that was a very like women empowerment album. Like she had all of it was Serena, Ibtaj, Aaliyah, Oprah. So it was very like for.
Oh,
women
the album
empowerment.
is sick.
It is. It's great.
I may stand corrected, but if
You're right. It is.
it's
Rhapsody's an 8. Maxo's an 8.4.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Max.
okay. Shout out to
Yeah.
Max.
No, that
No, was a
album's
great-
heat, and he
but
has
it
like really
was-
good features on there too.
Exactly, and you talked about the storytelling aspect. Whenever people could do that, I'm like, yeah, lyrically it might not be like Kendrick, but him and Kaz, who's on Dreamville, like those two albums, I was like, they're maybe not lyrically like Kendrick, but they tell a great story as well. So I appreciate that from an artist. That's something that I look into a lot when artists do that. But like I said, with flows like the baby and then like the beat, it'll be Pop Smoke because like the beat is it's very bass heavy and like I'll listen to like the hook because of course that's what everybody's gonna sing at the party and stuff like that.